Hello, hello, and good morning to everybody. Welcome to the Australian Grand Prix. You're live with me, Graham Watson, the team manager of the Scuderia Ferrari team. This weekend obviously marks a good occasion for all of us. This is the first race of the 2020 Formula One season, and this is quite a strange situation for all of us due to the fact that it's July. However, it's good for us to all be back. It's good for the Formula One environment, and it's good for the fans. So I'm very, very happy that we're here and doing what we all love to do. I know there's many questions out there from everybody, so we'll get on to those in a moment. But for us, I just wanted to reiterate, being back here in the paddock, doing what we absolutely enjoy doing the most, and hopefully putting on a fantastic show for everybody this weekend. All our Ferrari fans, all the fans of Formula One. Hopefully, the results come our way and we can go home on Sunday, or at least go to the hotel on Sunday, and keep our heads up. Okay, so I suppose we should get started with a few questions. Can I describe my role? Yeah, I suppose it's a multitasking role. I've got to look after a fair few areas of the company in terms of sporting regulations, personnel, logistics. There's obviously a group of people who support me. It's not just myself, because the job will be way too big for one person. So yeah, like I say, it's a multitasking role. I suppose the most important part is the sporting regulation, keeping the team on the right side of the rules. But all in all, it's it's very diverse, but one I very much enjoy. What has been the hardest challenge over the lockdown? I suppose it's the uncertainty of what was going to happen after or when the lockdown was actually going to end. We were trying to make plans through the whole of the lockdown, trying to come up with the logistical plans if we were going to go racing, and clearly there was meetings taking place all the time with the FIA and the Formula One management people. However, they were as much as us in a very fluid situation, so very difficult to lock down an actual plan going forward. So the difficulty was, I suppose, gauging and trying to preempt some of the possibilities of going racing, looking at some of the logistical challenges and putting in place those, and then changing them until the fact that we got an official calendar of 8 races. So very difficult time for everybody, a lot of uncertainty, but in the end, it was probably one of the hardest challenges, just keeping going. How has Formula One changed logistically for the teams? Okay, so logistically it's very similar, but we've obviously got to work to protocols now to do with the COVID-19. But it's going to be a bit more difficult later in the year if we do some ex-European races outside of Europe, because of the logistics of air freight and sea freight are a little bit more intense. But overall, it's not too different. It's just the fact we've had to work to a few health protocols. What's it like racing with no fans? It's a bit surreal. We noticed when we came into the track, the Wednesday, Thursday, we get a few people at the main entrance looking for autographs, or at least waving us in or waving us out when we leave. Clearly, these people aren't here, and that makes it a little bit unfortunate, because it takes away some of the buzz of the weekend. But all in all, hopefully the fans who can't come are going to be watching us on television, and we can put on a show for them, and they'll get the enjoyment they got out of it. Maybe not quite as much as they would have done, but hopefully to a similar level. What was the hardest aspect of the changes to deal with? I suppose living with a medical requirement now, with obviously clearly the face mask which I'm wearing. We've got to change the mindset of the people who work in the teams, and get them thinking a little bit more about their own personal health and the health of others. We've got a lot of protocols in place, as I said earlier. We have hand sanitizers everywhere, the mask, the face shield if you need to use it, temperature checks. On top of that, we've also got to every 5 days do a COVID-19 test. So those are probably the aspects that have been the hardest to get our heads around, because we're so used to just turning up in the paddock week in, week out, doing our jobs as we have done for the last 25 years in my case, and suddenly there's a few restrictions in place. So yeah, that's probably been the hardest one. It's just educating myself and the people around us. Do you think AlphaTauri can fight for the top 5 in the Constructors' Championship? Look, that's our goal. It always is our goal, even irrespective of where the car performance is. We are going to have a tough fight this year. I think it's very clear just from yesterday's free practice sessions. It's very close between the midfield group, basically the 5 teams trying to become the 5th team in the championship. We've got development in our back pockets that we're bringing, starting next weekend with the second round here in Austria. But it's going to be a tough ask, but that's always our challenge and our goal, and we'll give it everything we can to achieve it. Do these restrictions affect the performance of the team? Not really. We've worked with the FIA on this, because obviously for the guys in the garage and the engineering group, myself, it does slow things down a little bit with the sort of protocols on the health. So this year we were meant to have a curfew that was 1 hour shorter than the 2019 season. We've reverted back to the 2019 curfew, giving the guys a little bit of extra time. And these are all performance enhancing requirements. So I would say it hasn't massively affected performance. I think for Danny and for Pierre, they've obviously have to deal with a little bit difference in the meetings, which maybe has a slight knock-on effect on their on-track performance and being available and in the right mind frame. But ultimately, all the teams on the pit lane are dealing with exactly the same thing, so we should all end up in the same place. Have you ever experienced anything like this during your time in racing? No, this is very unprecedented for me in Formula One, and I think any probably racing championship. We've had a few local championships in the past in some countries that maybe haven't happened or have been reduced due to the bespoke countries, maybe health issue or something. But this, for a global situation, is something that we're all dealing with, as you as fans and us at the track here. And I hope that science can get on top of this and we can all get back to how we used to be in our lives. And hopefully we can avoid having something like this happen ever again. Is it harder getting upgrades to the car because of the factories being closed? Yes, definitely. This has had a very big effect on the production of parts. We're still, although our factory is open, and other companies that we use external to our company are open, there's still a restriction getting parts to the car, because most of these factories aren't working at 100% capacity, as ours is and isn't, because we have to use a sort of a rotational system with the staff to reduce social contact, and this has to have a knock-on effect getting the upgrades, because there's so many components with these Formula One cars, and these parts come from so many areas all around Italy, all around the world. For example, we use a company in Australia for doing our radiators. That's part of an upgrade cooling package that's coming soon. But the knock-on effect is, to use these guys down there and get the freight sent up to Europe is a little bit more difficult than it was for sure 6 months ago. If one has shut down for a while, has it given you time to reflect on how the team can improve in work methods? Yeah, definitely. I've had, as my wife can vouch, had plenty of time to sit around on the sofa thinking about the future of the team and how we can go forward. We do everything to the absolute maximum limit in Formula One anyhow. We push all the boundaries, we push all the people, we push ourselves. So it comes down to the detail of where you find the advantage over the opposition. And having 2 months to sit on the sofa and think about these things has definitely brought some new ways of working and some new ideas going forward. They're obviously slow implementation, so we'll get through them over the next 4 or 5 months. But it's definitely give us time to reflect and hopefully the fruits will be seen as the season unfolds in front of us. What is the most appealing technical aspect of Formula One today? Wow, I mean, Formula One is a technical beast, isn't it? The power unit, I suppose, is probably the most technically advanced engine stroke hybrid combination the world's ever seen. It takes an army of people to run these cars now, due mainly to the power unit and the way it works. It's incredibly complex, incredibly expensive. So I suppose for me, as an ex-engine builder, automotive machinist from New Zealand, the power unit and that side of it is something that I'm very interested in. And probably, again, probably the most appealing technical aspect of Formula One. How quick were the drivers in finding the limit of the car? Okay, so both the guys clearly been out of the car since Barcelona testing, which was a few months ago. So we took the opportunity to take our guys to Imola using the 2018 Toro Rosso car from a couple of years ago. Both drivers completed around 150 kilometers each, which gave them a chance to find the limits in that car. And then after we'd finished that in the morning, we then dropped both the drivers into the current car, which we were allowed to under regulation to carry out a 100-kilometer promotional event. So we took the opportunity to use that day to get both drivers up to speed. And I think, honestly, it's like riding your bike. I think for these guys, they've been doing racing cars and karts since they were 4 or 5 years old, and jumping back into Formula One car or any championship that a driver is in, I don't think it takes particularly long. And I think with our guys, we probably saw within 3-4 laps, Danny and Pierre were leaning on the car a lot. So we'll see what happens in qualifying today. That's probably going to show up a few of their weaknesses if they're not fully up to speed. But I'm pretty confident the guys are ready. If you were given an F1 time machine, would you prefer to go back to the past or forward to the future? Oh, it's a difficult question. I've been in Formula One now since 1996, so I've seen a lot of rule changes, technically and sporting. I personally really enjoyed the days. I'm probably going to get shot for saying this by my team principal, but I personally really enjoyed the days of the V10 era with the Renault and the Ferrari and so forth, Honda. Those again, being an ex-automotive machinist, these were engines that I really related to. I think the new cars we have today are super fast. I mean, so fast that it's quite a bit, quite scary, but very difficult to get that feeling sometimes of the speed because of the noise, because they are a little bit on the quieter side. Although saying that, they've definitely increased in the last 3-4 years. However, I think the V10 days were, for me personally, a happy time. I enjoyed the noise. I enjoyed the whole era. So I'd probably take the time machine and go to the past. How challenging is this year in the tight schedule for the team compared to usual? It's going to be very challenging. I think it was 2 years ago, we carried out a triple header race program as a one-off. At the end of that, we had a lot of very tired and worn out people. So this year, because of the schedule being compressed in such a short fashion, we're probably looking at something like 4 or 5 triple headers. This is what we signed up for, but there's no getting away that it's really hard and challenging on the team. Logistically, very difficult to manage because you've got sea freight going around the world. Ships don't arrive at the destination in a couple of days. They take a couple of months. So, these are going to be aspects that are going to come along a bit later when they release the rest of the calendar that are going to be very difficult. But I think for the team generally, compressing everything into 4 or 5 months, and the knock-on effect of that is having consecutive races on 2 or 3 weekends is going to be a very, very big ask for everybody. What was the team's reaction to the rebranding and the livery? Okay, so we rebranded it and relived over the winter, which was a massive task for everybody. I think personally that we're all very super excited about it. It's great when you come out with a new image, a new livery, a new team almost. I think the car looks amazing. I think all the trucks and the paddock and the garaging all looks amazing. So we are super excited. I think the reaction from the team, we will miss the old Toro Rosso livery that we had for the last 3-4 years, because it was a bit of an iconic paint scheme. But I think the new branding is equally iconic, and hopefully over time will continue to be so. So again, team excited, the reaction to it very positive. How do you find living in Italy? Oh, so me and my wife moved to Italy in September 2014. I'd say, like when you move to any foreign country as a non-national speaker, it's always a little bit difficult. But I've been there now 6 years. We've been there, 6 years, and I think we've thoroughly enjoyed it. The longer we're there, the more we enjoy it. It says there's obviously small differences to living in any country, so we've learned how the culture and how the people are. I must say I really love the people. The environment I work in here in Alpha Tauri is amazing. The Italian guys are so pleasant to be around. So yeah, living and working in the Italian environment for me is for me and Fiona, my wife, has been amazing. What's in your garage? My garage at home. So I've got two Honda motorbikes. I've got a Honda XL600R, which is a 1983, bit of a vintage, and a Honda XL250R, which is a 1982. Great bikes, love them. Only Honda by chance. I just bought them because when I was younger with my brother, he had a couple of these bikes, and I had a smaller 125, so it's something I always wanted to have. I restored the 600 myself, and then sitting beside that is a Porsche Macan, which generally sits in the garage collecting dust, which is a shame, but occasionally it gets out for a run. But yeah, that's the garage at the moment. How did you get to work in F1? Okay, so I didn't come to Europe from New Zealand to be in Formula One. To be honest, I came here to do World Rally Championship, which is what I did for my first 4 years of living in the UK. And during that period, I can tell you clear as clear. I was sitting in the tea room one morning on a Monday after a Grand Prix in Spa, and all the guys were talking about Michael Schumacher. And he had just driven the Jordan, and how amazing he was in qualifying. And unfortunately, he had a clutch failure at the start of the race and retired. And from that moment on, I became very, very interested in Formula One. And then it became a massive, massive passion to me to become a Formula One person, starting as a mechanic, which is what I was originally and still am. So I decided to start chasing the Formula One dream, if you like, which for me it has become a bit of a dream, and applied to every Formula One team I could, particularly focusing on at the time Benetton, because that's where Michael Schumacher was, and that appeared to be the team that I really wanted to be in. And I'll be honest with you, you've got to keep banging on the door, because people will, there's not always an opportunity, and if you give up on the first, second or third knockback, you're never going to get that chance. So I kept banging on the door. Finally, someone at Benetton called me in for an interview, and I started working at Benetton as a number 2 mechanic in the test team. At that time, unfortunately, Michael Schumacher had moved to Ferrari, so I was working with Gerhard Berger. But that's how I got there. I went through a couple of lower formulas and kept banging on the door. What's the most stressful aspect of your job? Okay, so I was thinking about this question last night because I thought it might come up. I suppose I don't put stress down as a big driver for my job. It's a job I really enjoy, a job I worked very hard and very long to get, and one that I think you couldn't do unless you did enjoy. There's so many people involved in Formula One now, and as a team manager, I have got to answer to all levels. I've got to be able to communicate to all levels. So I suppose communicating as personally for me is quite generally a private-ish person. Talking to big groups, trying to speak coherently and clearly, and saying to people how I feel and what I want from the team. It's probably the most stressful thing I have to do. I can deal easily with the rules. I can deal easily with the logistics. But talking in big groups and coming across confident and delivering the correct message without losing your train of thought is probably the most stressful part for me personally. Okay, so thank you for your questions. I hope everybody got some answers and some interesting take from what I had to say, and enjoy this Grand Prix weekend, and fingers crossed we can deliver a good result. Thank you.